Okay, and welcome. Another sensational little tutorial prepared here today. This one is actually a regular request, very popular little tutorial, this one. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to set a camera view. Okay, so what that means is that all the games that we've been played up to this point, we've been able to see the entire room in our view. Okay, but what we're going to do now is we're going to actually set up a camera view so we only see a small portion of the actual screen. Okay, what does all that mean, I hear you ask? Well, let me explain it briefly. Okay, if I come over here, so this is my game that I've been using for a while now. If I open up level 1, basically, if I just zoom that out a fraction, when we play the game, we can see this in its entirety. Alrighty. Now, basically, one thing I'll just point out quickly here is that I've moved my object player down the bottom here. You might have remembered in previous games he started up the top, and there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that just in a moment. Okay. So what we're going to do now, though, is that we're actually going to set up a camera view, so we don't see the room in its entirety. We just see a portion of the room. So if you could just follow my mouse cursor there, basically we will just see that portion of the screen. We won't be able to see any of what's outside of that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Where this is really important is that by default I just like to make the room small when we're starting off. So we can see here the width is 640, the height is 640. But let's just say that our room, let's just say that we wanted to have a large level, and say it was like, 3,000 pixels wide and, 3,000 pixels high. It's a pretty large room. Now, if we saw that all on one screen, everything would be really tiny and the gameplay would be rubbish. Okay, and so this is where a great opportunity to use our camera views. Okay. So if you're interested, you can create a room that's really large and then follow this little tutorial to get a ripper of a game up and running. All right, so basically up here in these tabs, we've got a tab called View. Okay, now we need to do a couple of things here. Basically, the first thing we need to do is we need to check enable the use of views. Okay, we need to enable it. Okay, we're going to leave this as view 0. Really important, make sure it's visible when the room starts. If your game starts and you just get a black screen, just go back and check to make sure that you've turned that on. Really easy mistake to make, one that I've made a million times before. Okay, now this next little bit here, basically, so at the moment the view in the room for view 0 for that camera is 1024 pixels by 768. Okay, and as you can see here, if I scroll out, okay, that's the view that's set. Okay, it's massive. We don't need it that large. So what we're going to do here now is let's just make that 300 by 300. Okay, and so you can see here now that that square's come right in nice and small there. Okay, so the port on screen, we're going to change that to 300 by 300 also. Okay, now remember earlier in the tutorial I sort of said that I'd put my player down here. The reason why I did that is that by default that square, that camera view, goes to the top left hand corner. Okay, now if I'd have left my player up there, you could have run into a few troubles later on. But basically what we actually want to do, it doesn't matter that it starts up there, because what we're going to do is we're going to say object following. So we're actually going to set it to be following our object player. So although that doesn't move from there, it will actually follow our player down here. Now this horizontal and vertical border, okay, basically what we're going to do, that if we put that up to, let's just say 350, so 300 by 300, basically what that will do by increasing those numbers is that will put our player in the middle of the camera view, okay, which could be an important little thing to remember. Okay, so I think that's all looking pretty good. So let's go ahead and run that game. Okay, save that, run that, and how have we gone? Woohoo! Have a look at this. That is sensational. So you can sort of see here, see as we're moving, our play is sort of staying in the middle of the screen, which is really good. Okay, luckily I haven't put any collision events in there, but with some of that fancy footwork right there, I would have been okay. But yeah, here, just keep an eye out what's about to happen though. So just going to let those enemies spawn. Now I'm going to go to my next level. The level is tiny. Now the reason, and the reason why I wanted to go to this level was to show this exact issue. Basically, we haven't enabled the use of views in level 2. Okay, so basically it's just shrunk the whole 640 by 640 screen into 300 by 300, and that's where it looks really small. Remember earlier I was saying, imagine if you had like 3000 by 3000. Well, it'd be, everything would be 10 times smaller than what you're actually seeing it here. Okay, so really important, need to make sure that that you enable the use of views in every room. Okay, and just go through the same process what we did a little minute ago, where we enable the use of views, we make sure it's visible when the game starts, and then we just set our parameters. Okay, otherwise you'll end up with a very little room like this, which probably doesn't make for great gameplay. Alrighty, but if you've got it working to this point, you're going really well. So excellent work, and well done on that one. I'll see you at the next tutorial.